Thank you. Do we have any declarations of interest? Nothing? Okay. Apologies for absence, please.
Thank you, Chair. I've received apologies from Councillors Bowe, Bullman, Crotch, Leggett, Mancini, Boyle, Riley and Jones.
Thank you. Item 3 is minutes of the council meetings held on the 24th and the 18th of September. I'd just like to refer everyone to those minutes. You've got page 8 is the 24th of July and page 19 is the 18th of September. Are members happy to approve them? Please, can you please raise your hands if you're happy to approve them? Thank you. Are there any matters arising from those minutes? Thank you. Item 4 is minutes of committee meetings. We have minutes from the Cabinet, Overview and Scrutiny, Planning Committee and the Audit Committee. These are just for information, and so I'm asking you just to note those, please. Announcements. Right, on page 102, you have the civic engagements from July to October. I've had the privilege of attending 13 engagements in that time since July. Each one of them a reminder of the incredible spirit that defines Broadland, from visiting local businesses to joining in the vibrant celebrations of Indian festivals. It's been a joy to experience the cultural richness and diversity that thrive in our communities. One of the highlights was attending the Broadland Community Awards last week, where we honoured the selfless contributions of our local volunteers, people who give their time and energy to make life better for others. These experiences have deepened my appreciation for the people who make Broadland such a special place to live and serve. And I want to thank everyone who welcomed me so warmly. I encourage all councillors to take time to explore the rich cultural diversity within your own homes, towns and parishes. You may be surprised the connections you make, the stories you hear, and a renewed sense of pride in the communities you represent. Thank you. I'm going to ask the Vice Chair if he has any announcements.
Don't have any announcements, thank you, Rose.
Leader, do you have any announcements?
No, not this time, thank you.
Members of the Cabinet. Martin.
Yeah, I'm very pleased to say that I cut the first sod at the groundbreaking event at Broadland Country Park last Monday. The new building will provide a cafe, toilets, outdoor dog washing facilities, bike and car charging points, new picnic areas, new paths and large new areas of free parking. Weather permitting, the building should be finished by April to May next year. The project is more than a building and other visitor facilities. It's about those things our council stands for. At its heart, this project is about people, community and our shared responsibility to engage with and care for our natural environment.
Thank you. That was a very good event, I think, and we were very lucky with the weather. We had the photos done when the sun shone. Right, we have no questions, we have no public speaking. Oh, I do apologise, Phil. Do you have any announcements, Meg? Number 8, recommendations from the Cabinet meetings held on the 16th of September and the 21st of October. You all had a supplementary paper to read with these 2 items, I think. Have you all had that? Yeah, good. 8A is a review of Norfolk Strategic Planning Framework, and I invite Councillor Roper to present the recommendations from the Cabinet.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to propose that Council endorses the update to Norfolk Strategic Planning Framework and agrees to remain a signatory to the NSPF. Given how speedily we've had a Council meeting after Cabinet, you'll note that the recommendation on page 104 does need the words Cabinet to recommend that removed, and that is Council endorses. I'm sure that wouldn't cause any problems for anybody. The NSPF is an important document. It underpins the local plans for all of the constituent councils and really goes hand in hand with the GNLP, which we as a council endorsed only last year. It is particularly important that it is reviewed and updated at the current time, as makes clear in paragraph 1.4. With the advent of English devolution and the advent of a mayor coming into post, one of their key tasks is around the future spatial development strategy for Norfolk and Suffolk. And it's important that we have this document in place to really inform how that is framed by the new mayor. Now, the question may come as to what has changed since the last update, which you will see was in 2021. I don't need to remind you about nutrient neutrality and what has needed to be put in place for that we've had new census data in the intervening period, and we've had our new local plan signed off in that period. There were also a couple of new signatories. The NHS were a new signatory, as are the Marine Management Organisation. So I'm very pleased to make this recommendation to Council, and I hope you will endorse it.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder? Dave Thomas, thank you. Do you want to speak now or reserve the right?
Just to say that this was very well debated at committee, and I'm happy to second it. Thank you.
Do we have any questions or comments from members? Eleanor?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This overall is an excellent document. I think it covers a huge range of planning matters. It's particularly good to see the updates which relate to increasing pressure on our environment from development and the importance of health issues. I'm pleased to see in Agreement 14 that clear evidence and demonstration of ability to deliver development will be required prior to the allocation of larger sites for development. And it's good to see in Agreement 17 that authorities are required to agree that climate change is an urgent strategic cross-boundary issue to be addressed at the heart of local plans. In other agreements, the issue of Norfolk being an area of serious water stress is recognised, and the need for electricity transmission infrastructure is also a focus. Under section 6.4, I'm pleased to see that each local plan will require enhanced construction standards which go beyond the requirements of the current national building regulations, and it's positive to see section 6.6 which points out that the number of planning permissions granted typically exceeds the required quantity of development. It's just that these houses have not been built for all those planning permissions for various reasons, and there are some new policies suggested to address this. My main concern finally is about water resourcing and the conflict between recognising that we are one of the driest regions in the country, and the stated aims to require delivery of housing will place huge demand on water resources, and the stated aim to grow the economy will similarly place a demand on water resources. Although the planners seem confident that this conflict will be addressed, it is a huge task for the future. Can we really have more and more development while our natural resources are already stretched?
Thank you for your comments. Does anybody else wish to speak? No? Okay. Yeah, I'll go back to Councillor Roper, please, to respond.
I'll thank Councillor Lamy for the comments. We're very much on the same page on this issue, and I think her comments very much endorses the importance of all councils working together and partners working together in order to guide future planning.
Okay, I'd like to refer members to the recommendations on page 104. I think we were going to delete Cabinet to recommend that and just put in Council endorses the update to the Norfolk Strategic Planning Framework and agrees to remain a signatory to the NSPF. All those in favour, please. Thank you. It looks unanimous. We'll move on to 8B, the draft supplement planning document, design code for South Norfolk and Broadland District Councils. And again, I would like to invite Councillor Roper to present the recommendations for Cabinet.
Thank you, Chair. This is the first of 3 supplementary planning documents which we'll be bringing to Council tonight. Each of them, the request is to put them out to public consultation for 6 weeks. Much as with the previous item, I would ask that the recommendation is just tweaked slightly on page 215 to take out the references to Cabinet, and that Council agrees that we go out to consultation, and then number 2 for the sign off of any minor amendments. The Design Code SPD is one of those documents which is designed to assist development by being a reference point for those looking to bring schemes forwards for future applications. You'll see from the report that there were 3 stages of public engagement have already taken place in the framing of this document, how it is at the moment, and today we're being asked to endorse that it goes out for a 6-week consultation. Prior to Cabinet, the document went via the policy panel and then overview and scrutiny. What I would say to anybody is, if they disagree with or wish for any small words to be amended or moved around, that is perhaps not the time to do that. All of the 2 constituent councils are looking to put this out to public consultation. If there are further comments on the document, consultation is the time to do those, and then we can iron them out in the final draft. So I'm hoping that tonight we can all unite around this particular document so that we can ensure the very highest standards around design of new homes within Broadland.
Thank you. If it's all right with council, I'd like to second that. Anybody got any objections to that? On the chair. Thank you very much, Fran. Any questions from members, please? Councillor Laming.
Thank you, Chair. I thought this was an excellent document. It's very well laid out, it's clear, and it covers all of the important themes relating to design. The initial consultation process was excellent, easy to engage in, and I can see that the suggestions put forward have been incorporated in the document. There have been a lot of extremely good planning documents coming out recently for approval, and I would like to thank the planning team and the consultants who've been involved for all their work on these. Thank you.
Thank you. As seconder, I'd like to second that. And I also would like to mention I'm really, really pleased to see a quote in there about accessible and inclusive play areas as we dealt with the motion from the Youth Advisory Board. Councillor Roper, do you want to respond at the end?
Nothing further to add, thank you, Chair.
Okay. Sorry. Councillor Murray.
Thank you. 98% of this document I do approve of thoroughly, and I understand where Councillor Roper is coming from. I did mention both at the policy panel, overview and scrutiny, and at Cabinet, and around the wording for the word should against must and must not, and my objection to the report having the word should, because it just shouldn't be in there. Excuse the double negative, but it still makes the document subjective, which a policy document shouldn't be subjective, and therefore I cannot support it in its current form.
I'm sure that can be, during the consultation period, that can be reviewed, but Councillor Roper, would you like to...
I take on board what Councillor Morrell has said, and I heard him say that the same thing in the policy panel and then again at Cabinet the other night. I'd repeat the point that I made earlier about the consultation and the importance of then ironing out any issues through the consultation and the final drafting. With regard to the musts and shoulds, I think those have been looked at carefully so far, and I think there are certain legal reasons as to why you have to frame things in certain ways, but I'm sure that the officers will look closely again before any final publication.
Are you happy to go to the vote for this one? All those in favour, please? Thank you. Unanimous? No. Sorry. Oh, I do apologise. Those against? Thank you. Right, 8C, draft Greater Norwich Green Infrastructure GI Strategy, supplementary planning document. That's a really long title, isn't it? Councillor Roper, would you like to...
Thank you, Chair. It trips off the tongue, doesn't it? This is the second of the 3 SPDs which we're bringing to Council tonight to be signed off for a 6-week public consultation. We'll make exactly the same change to the recommendation as on the previous item. It's still on page 122 to remove the reference it is recommended to Cabinet. It is that Council agrees, and then number 1 and number 2. I think particularly like to draw members' attention in this document to the delivery plan, which has already been proposed there on page 479 of your papers, and additionally to the list of projects which have already been identified on 484. If there are any questions or comments, happy to come back.
Do you have a seconder, please?
Yeah, happy to second, Chair.
Chair. Any questions from members, please? Helena?
Thank you, Chair. It's not a question, but it's just a comment. I mean, I'm really pleased to see this plan coming forward in line with national policy. I think there have been some very big improvements to it since the last document was published. The focus on climate change, nature and improving health cover some of the biggest challenges that we face today. The consultation process was extensive. We know what we need to do. We've documented it. We now just need to ensure that it happens in practice on the ground.
Anybody else like to comment? Councillor Emerson?
Yeah, I think it was really discussed over in scrutiny that we know what we want to see for our area. We know what we want to see happening in Broadland, and it just seemed to be that without stronger ways to enforce what we want, it will be difficult to enforce. So these are wonderful documents. They're all wonderful documents, but we did look at how we then enforce them to make them more of a law. It's a lovely document. They read the document. We want them to, developers then to follow the documents to bring what we want for our residents. And I think this is where we were saying how, we hand them the document and say, this is what we want, but we need to make it enforceable. And obviously this is where we will struggle. But hopefully in the consultation, that will be made clear that our views should be taken forward as more seriously by developers than what we think. Obviously, with a build as much as you can campaign by central government, it will be difficult to sort of restrict the developers, but that's what we hope we can do with these sorts of documents.
Thank you. Yes, Sue?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I think we all get a bit tired, don't we, of seeing things come forward which apparently don't conform. But the point is, if we don't have these documents, we don't have these sorts of things laid out, and should and must also do play a part in that, we can't actually try to make sure that they come forward. So I think the whole point is that we publicise these and we get this document right. Obviously, it's got to go to consultation, but when it comes back and we get it right, it forms something that developers are expected to read and understand and take note of. And our planning departments will be able to then use that as a saying, this is the sort of thing you should or must be doing. And some of that is dictated by precisely what you're talking about, central government and legislation. There are limits to what we can do, but we can certainly make sure that developers know what we want and what we think is the right thing for our communities, and we endeavour to get the best we can for it. And that's what these are for, in my view. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? I'm going to ask Councillor Davis, who likes to...
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think, just echoing what is being said, I mean, certainly welcome this strategy. I mean, it does align with Natural England's Green Infrastructure Framework and the local nature recovery strategy coming forward. It certainly, we're all recognising, I think, the need to enhance biodiversity, nature-rich and climate-resilient places, which are emphasised within this. I think as an SPD, it does provide an evidence base for implementing planning policy, and that's what we're looking for in terms of being able to refer to that when determining planning applications, and therefore it provides that additional strength, which is what we're all looking for to ensure that we do have acceptable green infrastructure that we're all happy with. So certainly support this.
Thank you. Councillor Roper, is there anything else you wish to say?
Nothing further to add, thank you, Chair.
You have your recommendations before you on page 422. I'll take them as read. All those in favour, please. Thank you. Is that unanimous? Yeah. Right. Item 8D. Draft Sustainable Communities GNLP Policy 2 Supplementary Planning Document. think this might be the last time I ask Councillor Roper to speak.
That'll be a relief to many, I think. Much like buses, you wait for one SPD to come along and then we get three all come in the same meeting. Okay, this is the SPD which is around sustainable communities, which builds on policy 2 of the Greater Norwich Local Plan around sustainable communities. You'll see on page 570 a table which starts to outline the 10 key policy areas which form sustainable development and in terms of what information is required in order to demonstrate compliance. Again, this is one of those documents which strengthens the Greater Norwich Local Plan and gives guidance to those bringing schemes forwards as to what they're expected to provide. I made the same revision on page 559 as I did to the earlier two policies by deleting the words cabinet to recommend and again that its council agrees, number 1 and number 2. Again, we're putting this out for a 6-week consultation, that's the proposal, and if there are any comments or issues, hopefully they can be ironed out through that process. And I move the report, thank you.
Do I have a second to that one, please? Sue Catchwell, thank you. Do you want to speak now or reserve the right?
I'd just like to support this policy. I think it's very helpful for developers to have access to the how-to for them to meet these demands, but also as a reference for local groups. For example, the Elsham Neighbourhood Plan Review Group to look at and gain ideas and the extent to which they might be able to put their stamp through the neighbourhood plan on the potential developments that the developers might be putting forward. So I think it works both ways and it's very welcome.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from yourselves? No? Okay. Councillor Roper, do you want to sum up? We'll go straight to the vote on page 559 before you. All those in favour, please. That looks unanimous. Thank you. Right, item 8E, Broadland and South Norfolk Homelessness and Rough Sleeper Strategy 2025 to 2030. And I would like to invite Councillor Hartley to present the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure that my voice is any more of a relief after Dan's, but here we are. I'm absolutely delighted to present our Homelessness and Rough Sleeper Strategy 2025 to 2030, which outlines our priorities and commitment to tackling homelessness and rough sleeping in the district with our partners. This is a statutory document that has been developed through consultation with key stakeholders, including those with lived experience of homelessness, which I think is incredibly important. And it builds upon our achievements in the outgoing strategy, such as our trailblazing temporary accommodation purchase programme, bringing 47 units into use by this summer, and our sanctuary scheme supporting survivors of domestic abuse to stay safely in their homes if they wish to. But it also acknowledges there is more work to do, and there are many changes on the horizon, such as the Renters' Rights Bill, providing longer-term stability for private tenants and clarity for landlords. There is also new supported housing legislation and an opportunity to understand what the supported housing need is in the district and work towards meeting it. With this strategy, we set a clear and ambitious direction to stop homelessness and support some of the most vulnerable people in our district. We acknowledge there is no one big idea that achieves this. Instead, we need to work across a number of areas in collaboration with customers and partner organisations. Our priority areas capture those points at which we can stop homelessness, from preventing it to happening, to offering temporary accommodation, to long-term sustainable housing solutions. We also focus on the importance of working together. This strategy supports our priorities to provide the right homes in the right places and empowers individuals and communities, and I commend it to Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hartley. Do you have a seconder, please? Councillor Starling, do you want to speak now?
Yes, I'm more than happy to second this. We had an excellent discussion at ONS last week about this, and we were impressed by and to learn about all the outreach the council does to prevent homelessness before it happens. The explanations about the wide range of organisations and groups the council deals with to anticipate need, and to support those in need when it first appears, you know, and that can often be with homelessness, very sudden for people or for numerous reasons, but also the fact that this council tries to anticipate that need and to prevent people becoming homeless in the first place, I think impressed everybody. And it's for that reason we should be incredibly grateful for all the hard work that our staff put into this. And I think it's something which we should be proud of as a council that we do. So I'm very happy to second this.
Thank you. Do we have any? Oh. No, it's not your laptop. Right. Any comments, please, from anybody? Oh, we have quite a lot. I'll have Councillor Weinreich first.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm always pleased to see this report. I think it's a good strategy overall. I must say, I hope we can turbocharge the, as it's described, the trailblazing programme, because I don't think it's been particularly turbocharged or trailblazing over the last 18 months, frankly. But well, I don't. I mean, I think we could do a lot more. So I'm just saying that. But I'm really pleased to see we're working with so many partners. And obviously focusing on prevention and early intervention, which is essential. Obviously, we're talking about here, and I'm pleased about this particularly, a number of things really, but we're looking at places for people with dogs, because we know a lot of people stay on the street because they've got dogs, so the fact we can do that. And also with Housing First, and I had a conversation with some people recently about hopefully the opportunity for us to enlarge that too. So I must be honest, I did miss it the first time round, but obviously we are looking at lots and lots of vulnerable people. I didn't miss vulnerable people, but specific within it about people being released from prison, and but also care leavers, people suffering, you know, or getting away from domestic abuse, mental health issues, and people from abroad. So I'm really pleased with that. I did want to ask a question around supported housing, because obviously the portfolio holder just mentioned that. On page 604, it's point 2. It actually says, where mandated, work with other local authorities on supported housing needs assessment for Norfolk. The inference is that we will not do so unless mandated. So I'd like to suggest that we actually take out the words where mandated and just say work with other local authorities on supported housing needs assessment for Norfolk. That was only my suggestion, but I don't think I can probably do that.
I'm sure
within the whole document.
Councillor Hartley will respond at the end of the debate.
Yeah, but I think it's something we need to really think about, because it says where mandated, so the inference is that we won't do it otherwise. That's my comments. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go on to.
It's on page 604. If you want to read it. Point 2.
Thank you, Councillor Weinreich. Councillor Clancy, you had a question? Or?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I would also like to endorse the report overall, and I think portfolio holder, Councillor Starling, Councillor Weinreich, you know, it's an excellent report, and it's an excellent initiative, and I would also commend the good work that the department does. The department does excellent work in every respect. One question I'd ask the portfolio holder, on the basis when the Norwich City Council are no longer a partner in this initiative, what sort of impact do you think this will have on the initiative and our role within homelessness, bearing in mind our locality in relation to Norwich, if any, please?
Again, I'm sure Councillor Hartley will respond at the end. Councillor Beadle, you have a question, please.
Thank you, Chair. I don't think many of us actually realise what actually homelessness means. We talk about it in the abstract, but we don't really know what it means. We don't actually realise how many businesses rely on homelessness and the people who are trying to get out of the homeless situation. I was actually going from Exchange Street to the Duke Street car park on the walkway, and there was a couple of beggars there, which is not unusual. And I looked at them and I thought the first one, no, I'm walking by you. But the second one looked half decent. And I said to him, I says, what do you want the money for? And he said, a bed. Now, can I say that was not the answer I expected. So I said, how much does a bed cost? He says, last night it was £20. Tonight it's 25. And I said, why? He says, it's colder today, and therefore there'll be more people wanting to go into the establishment. So I asked him where it was, and it was down Elm Road. So I said, come on, I'll take you down there. So I took him down there, and he'd got an appointment the following day with the job centre to sort of find out some sort of a career for himself. And, went into the reception, and it was a really plush reception made of melamine. And I said, how much for a bed for this guy? And the lady, and the only member of staff I saw there, she said, £30. I said, last night it was 20. She said, yes, but it's colder today because there was ice on the puddles. And I said, what has that got, what difference has got that to do with it? She says, well, because we'll get bigger demand today than yesterday, and therefore the organisation puts up the prices of the rooms. So out comes the credit card, and he said, thank you very much, and all the rest of it. And I said, can I see the room? Gordon Bennett had paid for it. So I said, yeah, I'll go and see the room. And this room was hardly the size of 2 single beds. He was really pleased it had an air conditioning unit in it, no outside window, and the reception was informed there was showers available. And we went down the corridor and we came across a toilet, no shower. Talk about a disappointment. We went down 1 or 2 other doors, opened the doors as we went, and we came across a double bedroom. And it wasn't twice the size, maybe half as much again. And eventually we came across this room with a shower in it and a toilet. And you would have thought all his birthdays had come at once, that he could actually have a shower. Now, can I say that most of us take these sort of things for granted? And he was actually going to the job centre the following day for an interview with the prospect of actually sleeping rough outside on a cold December night with ice on the puddles. And how was he going to present himself for a job or prospect for a job in those situations? But he actually got the opportunity to have a shower, something we all take for granted. Now, none of us, very few of us, can actually relate to that sort of thing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Beadle. Does anybody else wish to make a comment? No, I'm going to pass back to Councillor Hartley, please, to sum up.
Thank you, Chair. I'm trying to remember the questions. My brain isn't what it used to be. Yes, mandated. That is referring, either way, whether mandated or not, we do work with partner organisations. It's just the way this council works. But it's because we are expecting some new legislation which will mandate us to have to do that. So we don't know the full scope of the legislation yet, so that's why it's a little bit loose there. But when it comes through, we will, of course, because we will have to, but regardless of whether we have to, that is just the way this council works. We as it says in the strategy, you work in partnership as best as we can, but partnerships and collaboration are a 2 or multi-way street. So you can't force other partners to work with us if they don't want to, but where we have to, whether it is mandated, we will do. So I don't think it requires a change to the wording. I don't know if anybody else agrees with that, but I'm happy with the wording as it is, and I hope that clears it up for you. What was the other question? Oh, about Norwich City Council. It used to be a joint strategy, but the reason it no longer is, it's because Norwich has a very different need to us. Yes, we all have rough sleeping, we all have domestic abuse, but the situation in Norwich is completely different. Whereas with Broadland and South Norfolk, they are much more aligned. It's a younger population, there is more rough sleeping in Norwich, it's a different set of needs, so it requires a different strategy, and that's it. Whether they're in it or not, it doesn't affect how we go about our business. We have our policy, our strategy, it's developed with our partners, with stakeholder engagement, it's effective with or without, and it's probably more effective actually because we can tailor it to suit our needs and our residents better. My final comment regarding it not being particularly supercharged or whatever. I would have to disagree. I think we've done amazingly well, particularly without the magic money tree. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Hartley. Refer members to the recommendation to approve the adoption of the Broadland and South Norfolk Homelessness and Rough Sleeper Strategy 2030. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Unanimous? Thank you. Right, we move on to item 9, report from the monitoring officer, and I invite the leader to present the report, please.
Thank you. Yes, the main elements that you've got in here there are 3 really. So there is the audit committee terms of reference, which have been updated. Audit committee have reviewed those, and they're proposing some changes based on SIPA best practice, and that should strengthen the current arrangements without detracting from the committee activity. So the idea is that it will make it more regulated and productive, is the bottom line for that one. The second item is the appointment of the local returning officer. So because of the Representation of the People Act 1983, we have to be compliant with that. The managing director, who currently serves as the returning officer for all the district elections, is proposed to be appointed as the local returning officer for Broadland District Council for the combined county authority mayoral elections, and of course those will be the first of their kind, so it's quite important we get the right people in place at the right time. The third one is the recalculation of political balance and seat allocation following Councillor Mancini Boyle's departure from the Conservative group. So it's been recalculated based on 44 members and results in adjusting the proportional representation across groups, and this means there's a change in seat allocations on committees. So Councillor Clancy will be replaced by Councillor Shane Ward, and I think that's on the appeals panel. That's it really. So if anybody's got any comments they wish to make.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder, please? Councillor Thomas, thank you. Do you want to speak now or later?
Just to add, I'm delighted to second this. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I'd like to invite comments from members. Nobody? Okay, thank you. Do you wish to respond? No? Okay. Sue, do you wish to respond?
Well, I don't think there's anything much to say, is there? So if you're all happy to agree with those, I'm happy to put them forward to you.
Okay. Right, we're going to vote on recommendations on page 617. There's 4 recommendations there. Take them as read. All those in favour, please. Thank you. That's unanimous again. Item 10, recommendations for the Audit Committee held on the 17th of July 2025. We have a review of contract procedure rules, and I'm going to invite Councillor Yusufian to present the recommendations from the Audit Committee, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The contract procedure rules are rules essentially set out how the council procures services and goods in order to achieve fair value for money and keep within the regulation. The last time this particular document was approved was back in October 2023, and it has now been reviewed and brought up to date to ensure that it keeps in line with the regulation, which is now replaced from being the effectively public contract regulation of 2015, which has now been replaced with Procurement Act of 2023. The review itself is, you can see that alongside the previous document, the actual review and the changes are in a different colour, nicely highlighted, so you can all see that. Starting on page 625. This was brought before the Audit Committee in July of this year and appraised and scrutinised and was approved for recommendation to the Council, and I'm now recommending it to the Council.
Thank you. Can I ask for a seconder, please? Councillor Orber, thank you. Do you want to speak now? Okay. Invite questions from members. Anybody got any questions or comments? You're all very quiet tonight, aren't you? Talk it up. Okay. Paul, do you wish to speak about this? Okay. Councillor Yusufian, do you want to sum up?
No, nothing further to add, Madam Chair.
Okay. Right, we go straight to the recommendation to approve the amended contract procedural rules. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. Unanimous. And I would like to ask Councillor Yusufian to present the next report, the annual report for the Audit Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The annual report from the Audit Committee basically essentially sets out the work carried out by the Audit Committee throughout the year, and the fact that it maintained its work within its terms of reference, and how that everything has been carried out to the best of the ability of the members of the committee. I won't go on any further. Needless to say that it's all in full details starting on page 641 of the agenda.
Thank you. Seconder again, please. Councillor Orbit, do you want to speak now?
I will just say a few words, if that's okay. The Audit Committee have gone over a lot of ground over the past year. I think it's worked really well. We've certainly benefited from a new training plan that we've started this year, and we've really benefited from a new independent person that was appointed in October. So I certainly commend this report to the Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from anybody? Sue, yeah.
Yeah, I'd just like to say I would really commend the report, and I also think I'd like to thank all the Audit Committee members, because sometimes it can seem like a very dry thing to be doing. I did it myself, and you know, people don't always realise actually how technical it can be and how much data you need to read and how much you need to understand to do it. So thank you for that. I'm particularly pleased to see in the previous item that it's very clear what's changed. I always like to see a document which makes it very clear what was there and what's going to be there in the future. So I think that's really helpful too. And I think the report really says everything about what the Audit Committee are doing. And I'd like to thank the independent person who has also joined that panel, because I think that is, or that committee, because that is also incredibly useful to have somebody with extra knowledge that they are able to give to that committee is very valuable. And that's about it. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Fran.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to ask a question, really. It's on page 643 of the Audit Committee Chairman, really. It's just that it says here that 22 surveys were sent out and only 5 were returned, all from officers. And obviously the surveys all sent out to the Cabinet members. And I just wondered what the Audit Committee said about that, because obviously I wasn't there, but I just wondered what their view was and how they could perhaps look to improve that in the future, because obviously it's very important if you send out a survey that you get a response. I just wondered if you had an answer to that. Thank you.
Councillor Yusufian, you got an answer?
Well, that particular survey was actually scrutinised at the time, and obviously it was brought up the fact that the sample may well not be large enough, but it was sufficient to be able to obtain the results that we have done. It's something that will, again, if it does come up, it will be raised, and we will ensure that the sample is actually increased. But everything was done at the time in order to scrutinise it, in order to be able to essentially run with the results that we have. My apologies, if I can just ask Emma in order to expand on what I've just said. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, Tony. Yeah, so you're right, the responses back were low. But since this point, we have increased the number on the Audit Committee as well, so we've got a broader set of members, and I think that's actually working really well. As a committee, we've got more breadth in the room, and I think those in the room recognise that. And as Councillor Yusufian said, we have put in a rolling training plan for the Audit Committee, which I think already we're seeing the benefits of that come through, strengthening the knowledge on a case-by-case basis. So we're hopeful. Yes, we talked about the surveys at the time. We would have liked to have had more than we had, but actually what we were provided with gave us a really good reflection for the committee, so that we could work with the chair and the vice chair and set out a proper training plan. So we are hopeful that we'll get some better responses, and we look forward to hearing what people think about the performance of the Audit Committee going forward.
Thank you. Anybody else got any comments? No? Councillor Yusufian, do you want to sum up at the end, or do you anything else to say?
Nothing further to add. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, well, we got the recommendation that the Council approves the annual report for the Audit Committee for 24-25. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. That looks unanimous. Item 11 is outside organisations. I'd like to thank Councillor Lanning for her 2 reports that she's presented, which is information for the councillors. Questions from members. We have a question from Councillor Fran Wymark. Fran, you have 2 minutes to ask your question.
Thank you, Jem. I'll just read it so that everyone at home can hear it. So, I read a BBC report last week, well it wasn't last week on the radio, it was about 2 weeks ago now, that 25% of men being released from Norwich prison were becoming homeless. This is way above the national average of 16%, which is obviously still far too high. With the onset of winter upon us, what is the Cabinet member doing with our partners to address this? That's the question. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Councillor Hartley to respond. Please, Councillor Hartley, you've got 5 minutes.
I won't need 5, but thank you. First of all, thank you very much for your question. It's not often that the opposition give Cabinet members an opportunity to talk about the great work they're doing, so thank you for gifting me this. I think it would be useful if I just start with a bit of background information to help with the bigger picture. So HMP Norwich is a Category BC men's prison that serves as a local reception facility for Norfolk and Suffolk courts. It accommodates a diverse population, including remand prisoners, short-term sentences and individuals with complex needs. Compared to other similar types of local prisons, it performs fairly similarly, and the nearest comparator prison is Chelmsford. So due to the nature of HMP prison, as just pointed out, there is therefore a higher turnover of prisoners and therefore more releases, with just under half of those releases to the Norfolk area. I'm not sure if the statistics that you've cited there refer to the totality of releases or if they're adjusted for individual prisoners who may be subject to several releases in any given period, because that obviously makes quite a bit of difference, because meaning that one person could be released several times in 1 year. So I'm not sure how those statistics take that into account or not. But regardless, at Broadland, we've taken proactive steps to support prison leavers and reduce their homelessness risk. We have created a housing support officer specialising in criminal justice, which I'm sure you, as a previous portfolio holder, are very well aware of, as the post was introduced during your tenure in 2021. This officer works directly with the Prison Services Accommodation Specialist, allowing us to anticipate upcoming releases and prepare housing support well in advance and tailored according to their needs. We also participate in MAPA, Multi-Agency Public Protection Arrangements, meeting weekly with probation, police and central government partners to manage higher risk cases, with an officer sitting on the strategic MAPA board to ensure that housing outcomes are safe for the community as well as being appropriate for the individual. Prison leavers, as you understand, are often a cohort with complex needs, and that can make it more difficult for them to find and maintain secure housing. But in terms of your comment about the onset of winter, which I'm taking as your concern for them rough sleeping, I'd like to offer reassurances that need not happen at all. Broadland Council volunteered for a trailblazing ERSAT, Ending Rough Sleeper Assessment tool, which made sure cohorts most likely to fall into entrenched rough sleeping are accommodated without the need to verify. Broadland already proudly has a no more than one night out policy for all homelessness cases that the council does not have an immediate need to accommodate, but for individuals leading at institutions such as prison, in line with the ERSAT formula, accommodation is available for them immediately. Obviously, any number is too high and nobody in this room wants ex-offenders to be homeless, but in terms of the local story, prison leavers do actually make up a very small percentage of those who access our housing and support. This year to date, we have supported a total of 290, say that again, 290 homelessness cases, of which 39 were linked to prison release. And of those 39 cases, around 25% fell outside of the statutory homelessness framework. But regardless of the numbers, Broadland continues to maintain a proactive and early intervention approach that centres the individual and focuses on harm prevention and reduction.
Thank you. Councillor Wymark, do you have a supplementary question? You have 1 minute if you do.
Thank you. 1 minute. Okay, thank you very much. That's very helpful. And obviously, as you say, I knew a great deal of that because obviously I helped put it in place. So I'm pleased about that. Clearly, we've got quite an uplift actually recently in additional money for homelessness prevention grant over the last year, 871,000 actually. And are we still working? My question would be then, okay, so what have we done with our additional money, and are we still working with our partners in Broadland and Norwich? Because we did have a protocol in place for this, a joint protocol. Is that joint protocol still in place? And what sort of numbers will we be looking at in the future? Because hopefully it'll be less than 25%. Thank you. So 1 minute.
Councillor Hartley, you've got 2 minutes to respond.
I can't predict the future to know what numbers we may have in the future, and I cannot remember. Pardon?
It's not a discussion.
Thank you. So, we do work with partners, but I'm not sure off the top of my head which particular protocol this could be. There are so many protocols that we have, and I can't remember all of them, and which councils, but so it's not much of an answer for you, I'm afraid. But I know we do work with partners and do all kinds of things, and as I've just listed everything that we're doing to prevent this, and with prison leavers in particular, they're not going to be sleeping out on the street. That need not happen at all. So I'm not really sure. I can find out exact details about which other partner organisations we're working with. I can get that for you, but off the top of my head, so. Pardon? Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to stop this conversation. Councillor Hartley, would you like to respond a written response to Councillor Whitemark?
Yeah,
do this outside. We'll discuss this. We can discuss it outside the council meeting, and then Councillor Hartley can give you a written response.
Yeah, I've said once I have all the information 100% sure, I will give it to you. But off the top of my head, is there really any need to be muttering? I've said I'll give you the information once I have it to hand. I don't have it off the top of my head. I don't want to give false information.
A written response. Okay, can we leave it at that, please? Yeah, thank you. Right, we have no motions were received by council, so I'm going to declare this meeting closed at 7:53.